This is the Jewish approach towards abortion. It's interesting that in the secular world, we divide people into people who are called pro-choice, who believe that every woman has the absolute right to abort, at least up to a certain age, and pro-life, that says abortion is murder. The Catholic Church's position is aborting a fetus after conception is murder mamish. Now, what is the Jewish perspective? So in reality, it's kind of in between. Judaism absolutely prohibits abortion unless you have a very, very strong reason. Now, what is the strong reason? Many, many shitos. Some say only if the mother's life is in danger. Others say for sickness. There may be reasons, but abortion is usher. But what's interesting is abortion does not seem to be ritzicha. It does not seem to be murder. And the proof of that is, if I kill a human being, I'm chayav misa. I could be executed by a beis din. Abortion is not a capital crime. Right? One who kills a fetus, even if they were given warning and everything else, is not executed by a beis din. Under the Noachide laws, for a guy, it is a capital crime, not for a Jew. So the question becomes, how do you understand? There vada is an issue of abortion. No, please do not misunderstand me at all. We have to be 100% boror. There's an issue of abortion. But how do you understand the issue of abortion if you're not chayav misa for killing the fetus? I'm going to give you a number of possibilities that you see in the Rishonim and Achrayim. Possibility number one is, which seems not to be what the Me'am Loeh says, it is murder, but it's a gezeres hakasav, you don't get capital punishment for it. In other words, it's non-capital punishment murder, but in terms of the Isser, it is ritzicha mamish. That's one view that's very, very chamor. There is another view that it's not ritzicha, but it is the destruction of a potential life. In other words, ritzicha is the destruction of life. Abortion is not murder because the fetus is not an actual autonomous life, but it's the frustration of potential. And the Chavos Yoer says it is similar to the wasting of seed. Right? The wasting of seed is also not murder, but it's destroying a potentiality. And therefore the Chavos Yoer actually says abortion is hashchasas zera. There is a third view that says abortion is simply chavala, right? You're not allowed to wound yourself. You're not allowed to cut off your hand or whatever it would be. Abortion is chavala. Now, you understand that that would actually be very makel if the woman has any health reason at all. Chavala is mutter, right? And there's a fourth shita, which is a das yochid ma'od, one line in Tosfos and Maseches Nida, that says abortion might only be an Isser D'Rabbanan. That's a Das Yochid Mamish, but there is one shita in Tosfos that abortion. So we have a whole range of possibilities. Either it's murder without capital punishment, or it's an Isser D'Rabbanan, or we have things in between, Hashchas Hasera, or Chavala. So the point is that Judaism is not pro-choice. That's the most we can say. So we don't accept necessarily the position of the Catholic Church that it is murder, but we also don't accept the unlimited right to have an abortion for whatever it is. Now, I'm going to mention something else. Again, this may open me up to hate mail, and that is, and I'm just throwing this out. I'm not giving you my belief on it at all, and that is, one might make the interesting argument that even though I, as a religious Jew, believe abortion is generally going to be usher, I might not necessarily want there to be restrictive abortion laws. Now, you know, for many, many years in the United States, we had this case, Roe versus Wade, which more or less legitimated abortions at almost all stages until the very end of the pregnancy. But just, was it 2 years ago, whatever it is, the Trump Supreme Court, very surprisingly actually, reversed Roe versus Wade. And now what that means is every state is free to prohibit or restrict abortions. Now, some liberal states are not going to do it anyway. Right? California will keep its abortion law, and New York will keep its abortion law in spite of Orthodox Jews. Massachusetts will certainly keep its abortion laws. But in more conservative southern states like Texas, Florida, all of these states, they are making abortion restrictions. So here's the question. I'm a religious Jew. I live in Texas. So when there was Roe versus Wade, abortion was mutter. Roe versus Wade is batel, and now we have a chance to asur abortion. Should I, as a religious Jew, be in favor of the secular government asuring abortions? Or maybe I should say no. So let me explain the two ideas. One svara is, well, listen, if abortion is something that's forbidden even for Gentiles under the 7 laws of Noach, when the government is moving towards greater compliance with the Noachide laws, that's a good thing. So I should push for restrictive abortion laws, because that is the Ratzon Hashem, not just for Jews. That's the Ratzon Hashem for God. That, I think, is the Pashut Pshat, and I think most people would say it like that. But there's another svara like this. Let's imagine Texas passes a law, I'm just making this up, that says abortion is only permitted if the mother's life is in danger. So I look at that law and I say, hey, that's good. That's what halacha says. But wait a second. Who decides if the mother's life is in danger? Is it going to be the Rav, or is it going to be the state's attorney in whatever county in Texas? Meaning, once you make it a secular law, the determination of pikuach nefesh is going to be up to a secular authority who might disagree with the psak of a Rav. So in a sense, if you think about it, when the state allows abortion, that's actually better for Orthodox Jews, because then Orthodox Jews simply have to talk to their posek, and their posek will say yes or no, and there'll be no interference. So you get into a funny thing. In terms of society as a whole, a restrictive abortion law is better for society as a whole, because it cuts down abortions. But for me as a religious Jew, I do better with a pro-choice law than I do with a pro-life law, because a pro-choice maximizes my ability to follow halacha with no interference. So, do I do what's better for the frum Jew, or what's better for society as a whole? You see, this is a paradox. A frum Jew, as a frum Jew, does better with pro-choice, because pro-choice just simply says, I can make my decisions without government interference. However, for society, that's a bad thing from my perspective, because that allows them to violate halachos much more than would otherwise be the case. So I'm not, I'm not taking any position on this. It's just something to think about, that it's fascinating that you can be absolutely against abortion and not necessarily in favor of restrictive abortion laws.